Gemini moon. So the moon represents often the way that our mother nurtured us, the subconscious, our emotions, the part of ourselves which is the reactions and the responses we have without really thinking about them. So largely it's our impulsive nature. Gemini is logical, rational, it's about thinking. So thinking and feeling are often the opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to Gemini moon. So Gemini is a sign of duality, of polarity, and of speed, and of logic. And when you have the emotional body represented by Gemini, it can mean that your emotions move very quickly from one thing to another, and that there's not much time spent on analysing or understanding what that may have been. The emotions tend to get expressed through communication with other people before they're really understood by the individuals. So Gemini moon might suddenly say, I feel this about what you're saying, before they really have sat with what the feeling is. So they tend to move quite quickly through emotional responses to things, which can be very, very useful when working through challenging emotions, to not hang around there and dwell on them too long. But it can also mean that they don't ruminate on some feelings, which can make them come across as a bit cold or callous. So, for example, if there are issues in relationship, Gemini moon might be more concerned with quickly getting past that point rather than understanding what it's about or why it happened. So there can be this head in the sand mentality with Gemini moon with some of the stronger emotional content. It can often mean that the individual has got many, many interests and the capacity to channel their emotions into hobbies and into lots and lots of projects. Their emotional security comes from communicating their feelings and by versatility in their passions. So as long as the Gemini moon has got many things happening that make them feel they are being fed with information, generally they will be quite carefree and happy. Because of the duality of the signs, sometimes the Gemini moon can drop into depressive states. Never for very long, but this Gemini has got the capacity to really flip to opposite ends of the spectrum. And if the Gemini moon is constantly moving past challenging emotions, every so often there will be a time where they really feel hit by some of that emotional content that might be unresolved. Emotional partners, they actually can be very stimulating, but they need the freedom to move around, do as they please, to travel and to not be restricted in any way. So they do take open-minded partners. They're not particularly romantic, although they may send love letters because the written word is something that they're very connected to and a way in which they actually get a sense of how they feel. But they wouldn't necessarily brood and have deep emotional romantic gestures. However, they are good as long-term partners as long as there's a matching of minds. So if there is a constant interaction that is expanding for them in some way, and there's a variety and a versatility and an experimental nature in the partner, then they can stay. They're not necessarily a sign that cheats more so than any other sign. It's more about, can the partner keep up with them mentally? And if not, the Gemini doesn't dwell too deeply on saying goodbye and moving on. They're preoccupied with speed and enjoying life and moving out into the world without restriction. So staying with a partner where they feel unhappy or where they feel restricted, it just doesn't make any sense to them.